Hello, Sagittarius. Have you ever felt like the air around you begins to shift? Like something is approaching, not with footsteps, but with frequency. No voice calling, no invitation, just a strange knowing that someone is coming. A man mysterious, profound, and spiritually powerful. He doesn't knock with his hands, he arrives through vibration. And when you open your heart to receive him, everything you thought you knew about love, safety, and destiny will transform forever. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the high-value man who's making his way toward you. An old soul not here to possess you, but to awaken you. If you are a Sagittarius, the sign of freedom, faith, and truth, then this message was written in the stars just for you. Write in the comments, "I am ready to open the door to my divine destiny." Because this is more than just a statement. It's a signal sent to the universe that you are ready for your next chapter. There are doors that don't open by hand, they open through frequency. Not seen by the eyes, only felt in the stillness of your soul. And this time, dear Sagittarius, that door is opening not from the ground, but from the stars, from the deep vibrations within your birth chart, from the whispers of Jupiter, your sacred guide, sending signals of a soul encounter that isn't random, but destined. The sun, the symbol of your ego and inner light, is moving into opposition with you, shining from Gemini. This is not a time to run away, Sagittarius. It's a time to pause, to observe, and to realize freedom doesn't mean avoiding connection. True freedom is the courage to fully show up in love while staying true to yourself. I've seen so many Sagittarians love with passion, with generosity, and then disappear the moment they feel trapped. But do you know something? Sometimes attachment doesn't come to limit you. It comes to open a deeper dimension, one that you can't enter alone. And maybe this man is the doorway to that depth, not to keep you, but to remind you that true freedom begins where trust lives. Jupiter, your divine protector, is forming a magical trine with Neptune, the planet of dreams, intuition, and unconditional love. This aspect is like a mystical bridge between two worlds, where the real meets the miraculous. It marks the arrival of something felt through intuition, a soul reunion, a knowing that words cannot explain. You might randomly lock eyes with him in a crowd, and in that single moment, every sound around you disappears. Or you may dream of him long before the day you actually meet, because souls bound by a contract from another lifetime, they don't need introductions, they just remember. Do you dare believe that something beautiful is still on its way to you? That you are worthy of a connection that is both sacred and real? If your heart just skipped a beat, it's not a fantasy. It's a confirmation from the universe itself. Venus, planet of love and self-worth, is squaring Saturn, the gatekeeper of boundaries, discipline, and karmic lessons. This alignment is happening in your 4th house, family, roots, and your 8th house, endings, rebirth, and soul-level intimacy. This is not a gentle energy, but it is a necessary one. It brings to the surface what you've buried. Distorted beliefs about love, childhood wounds that made you fear vulnerability. Maybe you were abandoned before. Maybe love always came with pain and responsibility. And so now, when someone tries to come close, you're terrified they'll see all the soft, aching parts you've tried so hard to hide. But this mysterious man, with eyes that pierce through your soul, he won't judge you. He will simply stand there, and in his presence, you'll feel like you don't need to pretend anymore. The greatest lesson of this transit is not how to be loved, but how to love without losing yourself in esoteric teachings. Some people are not lovers, not teachers, not strangers. They are energetic conduits. They come, they touch, they awaken. This man entering your life is not coming to make you comfortable. He is coming to awaken the strength inside you, the part you forgot you had because you've been strong for too long. He may not speak much, but every gesture, every glance, every silent presence of his will turn you inward like a mirror reflecting your truest self. He won't seduce, he won't possess, but you will know deep down, this is no ordinary meeting. Will you dare to open your heart to a soul who can read the words you've never dared to write? I used to think the scariest thing was being left behind, but no, the scariest thing is being fully seen. Sagittarius, you're excellent at showing the world how strong, happy, and independent you are. But maybe, just maybe, you've forgotten that you too deserve to be held, to be protected, to be trusted without wearing a mask. This man somehow will see through every layer you've built, and that will make you want to run away. and yet want to stay not because he's perfect, but because finally, someone makes you realize you don't have to be perfect to be loved. You may believe that love is a private matter, but in astrology, nothing is separate. Every person we meet, even for a moment, is a sacred fragment in the journey of the soul. Every hug, every gaze, every goodbye is a divine lesson, carefully placed by the universe, so that we may one day become whole. So maybe this man won't be your forever person, but he will be the one who makes you remember who you truly are. And sometimes that's all it takes. That's enough. If you've ever felt something like this, a person enters your life as if they've known you from another lifetime. A connection that makes no logical sense, but you simply can't walk away. Share your story in the comments, because who knows, your story might awaken another soul who's been waiting for the same thing. And if you feel ready, write this down: I allow the sacred to enter my life. That is not just a sentence, it's an activation, a call to the next chapter that's already waiting. In the next video, I'll reveal the secret this man carries, one that's not just about romance, but about finances, stability, and karmic patterns rooted in your 4th house. A surprise gift may be arriving with him, but are you energetically clean enough to receive it? Don't miss what comes next. It might be the final sign before your life takes a completely different turn. Some soul connections are not meant to begin a relationship. They're meant to end a chapter of your evolution. A person may enter your life without a warning, quietly, softly, and yet their presence stirs something deep inside you. You can't explain why their eyes make your heart tremble, why their simple words make tears gather in your chest. Sagittarius is the sign of freedom. You love the endless journeys, the open skies, the kind of people who never try to hold you down. You've lived in the light of a belief that you don't need anyone to feel whole. You've traveled far, across lands, and through emotional landscapes. And maybe you've grown used to being the strongest one in the room. But sometimes, what the soul needs most isn't a new destination. It's someone who makes you stop, not to be tied down, but to be fully seen. You've held it together so many times. You've learned to walk away when things no longer serve you. You've built a private sky where no one could hurt you again. And then he arrives, not loud, not forceful, but something in his energy slows you down. This doesn't feel like a passing crush or a brief collision you'll forget in a week. This time you feel seen. He doesn't ask anything. He doesn't even touch you. But somehow his gaze lands right where you've avoided looking. You can't pretend. You can't smile your way through it. You can't outrun the feeling anymore, because the person standing in front of you is quietly illuminating the places in you that you've carefully ignored. This isn't love as you've known it. No declarations, no long-term plans, just a presence so still it makes your inner voice rise up from the silence. You might ask, how can someone who's done so little stir something so massive? But the real question isn't about him. It's about you. How long have you been living without letting yourself feel? Maybe you've loved before. Maybe you've been disappointed. You've hoped and been let down. And somewhere along the way, you told yourself, I won't let anyone hurt me again. But what you didn't realize is that this vow also shut your heart to those who never meant to hurt you. He didn't come to keep you. He didn't come to fix you. He's just a mirror, reflecting the softness you buried because the world told you softness was weakness. You've been strong for so long, strong enough to carry yourself through storms, through losses, through lonely nights. But strength doesn't mean you don't long for rest. Maybe you don't need someone to carry your burdens, but you still deserve someone who sits beside you when you no longer want to carry them alone. Someone who doesn't tell you to push through, but simply whispers, I see you even when you're not trying to be seen. This encounter, it doesn't come to satisfy your craving for romance. It comes to awaken a deeper longing, the longing to simply be yourself without performing. And maybe you forgot what that felt like. Maybe you've worn your independence like a crown. But are you sure it's freedom you've been choosing? Or have you been running from the possibility of being hurt again? This man in his silence makes you ask questions you didn't know were buried inside you. Not through words, but through his presence. He's not trying to convince you of anything, but somehow he makes you pause and look inward. I believe each soul meets mirrors like this along the path. People who don't stay. But after they leave, you're never quite the same again. Because they show you a part of yourself you had forgotten. A part you once avoided. A part you thought you didn't need. A part you labeled weak. But in truth, that's where your heart had been quietly waiting to be known. You don't need someone to complete you, but you deserve someone who reminds you. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't need anyone to define you, but you deserve someone whose presence makes you feel something so real, it shifts your understanding of yourself. Some people come into your life like light, not to light up the entire room, but to shine into a dark corner you've long ignored. And maybe it's only when they leave that you begin to clean that corner, not because they asked you to, but because you realized you deserve to have a space inside you no longer filled with fear. That's the lesson, not from love, but from awakening. An awakening that's soft, quiet, without force, but deep enough to change how you see yourself. Strong enough to stop you from pushing people away every time your heart begins to feel. Real enough to make you, for the first time in a long time, stop pretending. And if right now someone comes to mind, someone who once touched you in a way no one else ever could. Someone who didn't need grand words or gestures, but whose presence made you soften, deepen, and become more honest with yourself. Then maybe you already know this feeling. Not all love stories last forever. Not everyone is meant to walk the full path with you. But if they made you face yourself truly nakedly, then they have fulfilled their sacred role in your soul's journey. And so have you. You've come a long way, you've grown, you've matured enough to know not every departure is a loss. Sometimes it's the universe's way of helping you see what truly matters. Sometimes it's how your soul learns one of its deepest lessons, the lesson of tenderness, of letting go, of love that does not cling, of presence without conditions. You may never see him again, he may be long gone, but what he left behind is you. This version of you, more whole, more real, more capable of loving yourself. And if you're hearing this now and something inside you stirs, some strange warm feeling rises in your chest, then maybe, just maybe, this isn't just a story. Maybe it's the reminder your soul needed at this very moment. Because who knows, maybe something or someone is already approaching. A new face, an unfamiliar glance, a frequency that feels familiar to your spirit. And you will be awakened all over again. Not to fall in love, but to remember who you are. Not every encounter is meant to spark a romance. Sometimes someone walks into your life carrying more than just emotions. They carry invisible knots tied deep within your being. Knots you thought were long undone. And with just one look, one random encounter, your carefully built system of beliefs begins to shake. Not in chaos, but in truth. You once believed you were independent in every way, that your emotions were yours alone to manage, that you didn't need anyone to survive, to thrive, to stay upright. You built a life of your own, a home you paid for, a plan you created, a destiny you carried solo. But there are energies we cannot explain with logic. Someone steps in quietly, and suddenly something unnamed begins to shift inside you. Saturn is now transiting your 4th house. The house of family, roots, ancestral patterns etched into your DNA. Not everyone will understand the weight of this placement. Sagittarius, you love freedom, you crave it, but you also carry within you silent legacies, unspoken responsibilities, emotional codes inherited from those who came before you. You've mistaken them for just who I am, but they are not natural. They are simply familiar, and this man, by doing nothing more than existing in your orbit, makes you realize something profound. Maybe you're not afraid of love. Maybe you've just been running from repeating the pain you witnessed in someone you loved once. A parent, a guardian, an ancestor whose heartbreak became a warning etched into your blood. You aren't escaping love, you're avoiding the cycle. But what if this time, it's safe to break it? This isn't a flaw, it's karma, not karma as punishment, but as a pattern unconscious etched deep into the energetic field of your family line. And right now, with his arrival, you feel that the walls you once used to protect yourself from closeness are no longer holding. You don't want him to stay, but you can't look away. Because his presence is like a quiet bell echoing through the deepest rooms of your mind. Rooms you locked a long time ago. Maybe you always believed your finances were within your control, that you could earn, save, invest, expand, like someone confident in their own power. But the 8th house, the house of transformation, shared resources, endings, and rebirth, is opening a completely different doorway. Something is coming. And no, it isn't coming from the job you're doing. It's coming from a connection, from a person. He may not say it, but he stands there like a gatekeeper, a king of pentacles in human form, someone who holds resources and power without boasting, without noise. He doesn't need to prove his worth because his energy already speaks it. And if you pay attention, you'll notice that every time he appears, your idea of stability begins to shift. Your idea of receiving, of allowing yourself to be supported, trusted, lifted into a space where you don't have to fight alone anymore. The 8th house is not just about money. It's about intimacy, about letting someone enter the inner worlds you've kept hidden, about accepting support, not as weakness, but as an act of courage. And sometimes, the wealth you're waiting for isn't in a bank account. It's in the ability to let someone see you real, unguarded, unedited, and stay. You may resist. Sagittarius often does, when the feeling of losing control creeps in, but that resistance itself is the signal that you're about to touch a deeper layer, a place where the mind can't manage the process anymore. Your 12th house is whispering about a karma not yet completed, a promise from another life, a soul who once walked beside you, left in silence, and now returns as a fragment never healed. Have you ever met someone who made you feel like you missed them, without any story attached? A longing with no explanation, a closeness with no reason. You may have never touched them, but your heart remembered them long before you understood language. That is the 12th house in motion. That is the work of souls who agreed that at the right moment they would meet again to complete what was left unfinished. That man, he's not here to give you the answers. He's not here to fix your life. He is the high priestess, the embodiment of sacred silence. You can't read him, but you can feel him. And if you're brave enough not to judge, not to force him into your expectations, you'll understand he is a challenge and a gift. Not every gift is easy to receive. Sometimes the most valuable ones arrive in forms you didn't anticipate. A person who makes you relearn how to open your heart. A connection without clear definition, but one that illuminates parts of you never understood before. An unexpected flow of money that only arrives when you learn to trust connection, instead of trying to control everything alone. And maybe what moves you the most is not the change on the outside, but the transformation within. You, the one who carried yourself through every winter of your life, are now learning to let your heart be warmed by the presence of someone who is not here to rescue you, but also will not leave you behind. In the end, every spiritual journey returns to one question: do I dare let myself be seen? If you do, then what you're receiving is not just love, not just financial opportunity, not just a shift in circumstances, but an entirely new level of becoming yourself. And maybe everything this man carries with him is not a promise, but a mirror. He shows you how many defenses you've built and makes you realize you don't need them anymore. You don't have to hide your softness to be loved. You don't have to prove your worth to be chosen. You don't have to control everything to be safe. You only need to be present in your truest form and allow the universe to do the rest. And if you're still here reading these words, and there is a strange, unnameable feeling rising inside you, then maybe this has touched something real in you, a part you've tried to forget. A part he, even before you meet, is already awakening. And maybe after everything you've been through, this is the moment you're being invited into a new chapter of life, not through effort alone, but through resonance. A person, an opportunity, a doorway, a permission, a divine invitation from the universe itself. For you now, right here. Some love stories don't bloom from roses, they bloom from wounds. They don't shine brightly at first glance, but they echo in your soul for years to come. They're not meant to make you happy, but to make you grow. You once loved like a Sagittarius, fierce, passionate, untamed, and free. You believed the best kind of love was limitless, unattached, never holding you back. You loved like the wind, like fire, like a river that couldn't be tamed. And you were proud of that. But this time, love isn't here to affirm what you used to believe. It's here to challenge it. He didn't sweep you off your feet. He didn't shower you with sweet words or do the things that normally melt your heart. But somehow you couldn't look away. You didn't understand why his silence made your chest tighten, why his presence made your defenses tremble. You thought love was about attraction. But this time, it's about confrontation. You start asking yourself, what am I really seeking in a relationship? Do I want someone who loves me gently? Or someone who forces me to dig deeper, to shed the romantic illusions I've held onto for years? And you're scared. Scared that letting him in means letting go of the version of you you've always known. Scared that if you allow this feeling to grow, you won't be able to control what changes inside you. But at the same time, you know, if you reject this, you're also rejecting a deeper version of yourself. This connection doesn't follow your usual script. It's not easy. It's not clear. It's not rushed, but it doesn't give you time to run away either. You'll move through all the stages: attraction, resistance, struggle, awakening, and eventually release. When you're drawn in, you won't know why you want to be near him so badly. When you resist, you'll tell yourself you don't need this. When you struggle, you'll realize you're falling, but you don't want to fall. When you awaken, you'll see that the feelings he triggers aren't just about him, they're about you. And when you finally release, you'll know that love is not about clinging and it's not about escaping. It's about being seen and still choosing to stay freely and fully aware. He didn't come to make you happy. He came to make you real. He reflects the part of you that tries to control. He reveals the part that fears losing. He shows you that maybe you've never truly trusted anyone before. And from that space, you begin to learn to love, not to be loved back, but to come closer to your truest self. True love doesn't come to soothe loneliness. It comes to shake open the wounds you've kept hidden under a blanket for years. It doesn't ask you to face him. It asks you to face the part of yourself you've long buried. And sometimes, the most painful thing isn't being rejected. It's realizing you've rejected yourself all this time, simply because you didn't believe you were worthy of being truly seen. You might cry, not because he hurt you, but because you touched a part of yourself you never dared to look at. You might feel weak, but that weakness won't break you. It will make you more human, more real, more alive. You will have moments where you want to walk away. You'll wish for someone softer, easier, less complicated. But somewhere deep down, you know, he didn't come to make you comfortable. He came to make you grow. And not everyone is ready to love someone like that. Someone who doesn't give you answers, but makes you ask new questions. Someone who doesn't try to claim you, but makes you want to surrender your need for control. Someone who doesn't make you feel safe in the old ways, but gives you the kind of truth you've always been searching for. So if it all feels too intense, too fast, too deep, maybe that's a sign you're exactly where you need to be. Where love is no longer a game of emotions, but a sacred unraveling. Where you stop seeking someone who understands you and begin learning to understand yourself. Where you're no longer afraid of getting hurt, but grateful for the pain that brought you home to your real heart. He is not the one who will save you. He didn't come to complete you. He won't make you endlessly happy. But he is the one who made you realize just how long you've been keeping your heart locked away. And if you dare to open it, not for him, but because you're finally ready, then that is the moment you truly step into a different realm of love. A kind of love that doesn't need a definition, doesn't need binding, doesn't need an outcome, only truth, like the light that silently pours through a window, without asking, without demanding, simply present. A love that, if it can walk beside you, what a gift. And if it cannot, then his presence alone was already enough to transform you into someone who will never be the same again. And if you're crying right now, that's okay. That tear is proof that you still feel, that you're still alive, that you're still soft enough to love even after all the times the world hardened you. Let this moment be a gentle reminder that you are worthy, not because you've proven something, but because you exist. Because your soul is moving through something deeply real, deeply human, and deeply sacred. And perhaps someone like that is closer than you think, or maybe they've already been there. Maybe it's the very person who keeps returning to your thoughts right now. Someone not easy to love, but someone who changed you forever. Sometimes what alters our fate isn't a grand event. It's a small moment so subtle you almost miss it. Like when you suddenly stop in a familiar room and notice the dusty corner you've avoided for years. Or when you decide to touch an old memory, not to blame, but simply to let it go. Or that quiet evening when you light a single white candle, not to ask for anything, but simply to whisper to the universe, "I'm ready now." You don't need to change the whole world. You only need to change the way you walk through your own. Maybe it starts by clearing out a corner of your home, that drawer or space under the bed where you've stored unnamed things full of unspoken emotion. Not because you're redecorating, but because you now know what no longer reflects who you are today must be released to make space for what's coming. Every item you let go of is a message to the universe. I'm making room. Every clean space is a frequency reset. And then, as you stand in that room, not someone else's, but a space that is finally your own, you'll sense that something has shifted. The air, the light, and you. You might not see anything happen right away, but energy moves before matter. Just like someone could be on their way to you, even if you haven't heard the knock yet. Just like a quiet faith is growing inside you, even if the world still looks the same. And one day, maybe at sunset, you'll sit down, pick up a blank sheet of paper and begin to write. Not to send, but to surrender. A letter to them. The one your soul has already met long before your heart could understand. The one who doesn't need to know who you were because they'll see you clearly for who you are now. Tell them you've gone far enough to know. Love doesn't mean losing yourself, and you've learned enough to know. Opening your heart doesn't mean giving up your worth. Write to them as if they are already listening. Write with a sincerity no armor can hide. And then fold it up. Keep it somewhere sacred, because that is a ritual. One that needs no witness, no reply, and yet it is always received in the deepest chambers of the universe. And when the space is cleared, the letter written, and the candle flickers gently before you, close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and softly speak. I allow good things to enter my life without defense, without judgment, without control. It may sound simple, but that is one of the most powerful declarations a soul can ever make. Because from that moment, you are not just surviving, you are walking alongside your destiny, not resisting it, but finally flowing with it. Many people who hear this may still feel unsure, wondering if they are worthy, wondering if something good will ever truly find them. But listen, if your heart still has even the smallest quiet space that hears this, if your soul still carries the tiniest spark of belief, then you are already more ready than you realize. And if you've stayed with me this far, I want you to know this: you are not alone. On this journey of returning to yourself through memories, through wounds, through tenderness, there are many other souls awakening alongside you. They may not be beside you right now, but somewhere in this world, they too are lighting a white candle. They too are writing a letter never meant to be sent. They too are opening a door they never dared to touch before. So if your heart is quietly responding to this message, speak your commitment, gently but truthfully. I am ready to receive the great destiny that is finding its way to me. You can write that down beneath the video, not for attention, but to anchor energy, to make a mark, to send a signal to the souls traveling this road with you. And sometimes that anonymous comment may just become the beacon that leads someone else home. And if you're still wondering, will that person really stay? Will he walk with me through the seasons to come? Or is he simply a messenger, a letter carrier from the universe? A presence meant to awaken, not to remain. Then I invite you to join me in the next part, where we'll explore an even deeper question. If that person leaves, what will rise from within you? Because true love isn't just measured by who stays, but by how you return to yourself after the encounter. Your story might just be beginning, and the next chapter, the one you thought would break you, might be the very one that brings you back to life. I'll meet you there when your soul is ready.